With us now, the editor of Time Magazine, Nancy Gibbs. She's here to reveal this week's cover story, Pope Francis Meets America, and what a meeting it was yesterday.
You'll be shocked that this was where we went with the cover. We could have said America meets Pope Francis, but in a way, that happened a long time ago. He has 20 million Twitter followers. We've had a chance to get to know him over this 2 years. This is the first he's had a chance to get to know us, of someone who, grew up with a distant vision of America from Argentina. I think it's going to be fascinating to get a sense of his interactions with Americans. Yesterday was very powerful. This morning is going to be a historic scene.
Also fascinating interview with him where Pope Francis assured you all that he was not a liberal, and he was bemused by the suggestion that he was.
Well, I think he's been very artful about not falling into any category, political or ideological. This morning he calls politics one of the highest forms of charity, in that it is, in as much as it is the pursuit of the common good. So I would that what he will be saying to the assembled lawmakers is very much in that spirit, that you too are shepherds of the common good of these people. And I think that's going to be so interesting to see, that in the place where we're used to seeing the President of the United States deliver the State of the Union, to see a Pope in that very bully pulpit.
Well, again, we were talking about it earlier with Senator Kaine, who was just on with us. The Pope is one of the only people in the halls today of Congress who is not a candidate for anything. And to his contention that, are you a liberal or a conservative? He's a pastor. That's how he views himself. What we do through our prism here in this country as members of the media or whatever is we try to put people in certain categories. But as you pointed out, I mean, he's not bound to any one category. He's very sophisticated in the way he approaches all of the issues.
And he has very much presented himself, and you saw it all day yesterday, in the symbolism and the substance, as a pastor, not so much as a righteous prophet, but as someone who, he said it to the bishops in that encounter. You felt it at the White House. You felt it certainly in the spontaneous encounters, that this is a very intimate, very personal way of understanding the papacy. And I think that's why his impact, when have we last seen a world figure captures people's imagination in this way?
I am wondering how it struck you, because it struck me when the Pope arrived in the United States of America, and when he arrived at the White House yesterday, the President of the United States, who is somewhat restrained emotionally, has been, the President was so filled with joy on his face both times. It really struck me.
That great photo of Barack Obama, his eyes have disappeared because he's grinning so much.
I think he finds actually a kindred spirit in this Pope.
Nancy, I was thinking about what you said about how he's not political, but actually what he has done in Rome at the Vatican has been very political. He's shaken up the Curia, and he's taken on vested interests. He's had an impact, and you can wonder then, okay, so he has acted very politically in Rome. He comes to Washington where he's not acting politically. Can he have the same effect, do you think, on Congress to any degree? I mean, will members of Congress come out of this morning's gathering changed people at all in the way they act politically?
What we're about to see, the tests of moral leadership. He's definitely a very shrewd politician in what he has done in the Curia. He's not naive at all about human nature, but I think that's what's going to be fascinating. And if you believe that our lawmakers are representatives of the people, a lot of this is going to reflect how much he inspires in those lawmakers' constituents a feeling for a different way of approaching some of these subjects.
This obviously is a Pope-centric issue, and rightfully so. There is a piece though about John Kasich in here where you say John Kasich is not angry. What do you mean by that?
Well, at a time when the Republican field seems to be trying to competing for who can be the most outraged the most often, he is very explicitly not running away from the fact that he is an insider. He has long been an insider. He's a governor. He's wrapping himself in all of the things that many of the other candidates are doing everything they can to flee, which I think is fascinating to watch how that plays out.
All right, Nancy, thank you so much. What a great issue, Pope Francis Meets America. It's on newsstands tomorrow, and we're going to be bringing you a complete live coverage of the Pope's historic address to Congress this morning when we come back.